check this out for a bit. Oh yeah, it's working
Sound
great.
good?
Oh yeah, that's good.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. So,
Standing
anyway.
in for old Justin tonight. I wish I would have worn my mullet,
Oh yeah, you definitely should have done
because
that.
then you guys wouldn't even be able to tell if I was Justin or not.
Good point. Good point. Good point. And we could use some of the voice effects, and then it would have been a whole nother level to
Yeah.
it, not being able to tell it's not Justin. So anyway,
He's off in North Carolina for the week. He
Yeah.
probably wore his mullet.
we'll let him explain a little bit more of what's going on if he would like to versus,
Yeah.
you know. So anyway, but he's missed this
Oh,
week, and we're trying to hold down the fort.
Yep.
So that's where we're at here with everything. And so anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's Tuesday evening, and we have the announcements for what's going on this week, and we'll go ahead and kick that off. And first, we'll get started with a little commercial special announcement for our buddy in town that has started up his lawn care,
Yeah.
Hayden.
Oh, I wanted to I asked specifically if I could say this announcement because
Yes.
Hayden is young kid, super motivated, a go-getter, just always out there in the world, trying to do his best. And so we thought we would toss him a bone and mention his new business a couple of times. So teenager with a business, I always want to encourage that. So
Definitely.
if you're looking for lawn care needs, particularly after this storm, pick up all those sticks and twigs out of the yard,
Definitely.
mow it, weed it, whatever you might need. Marcellus Lawn Care has been looking for new customers. You can reach out to them at 269 587 0906. Or if you're so inclined, you can check out this link, which is sites.google.com/view/Marcellus Lawn Care /home. We'll try and remember to post that link because it is a little bit long, but
Yeah.
reach out to Hayden if you're looking for some help around the yard, outdoor work. Phone number again, 269 587 0906.
Yes. Call him up. He's a good guy. I recommend him strongly. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's why he's at the beginning of our program.
Yeah,
So thanks for that. Good job.
thanks.
Appreciate that. Woo. Also, a couple other little things quickly to announce. Today we had a very successful event at the library. This is spring break week, which is full of activities at our local library, which is normally full of stuff already, but just extra jam packed. We had the children's drum music workshop today, so big salute to everybody and thanks for coming out and bringing your kids. It was just awesome. We've been asked to do it again, and so anyway, thanks for everyone that came out to check that out. Thanks for Patty and the gang for kind of giving the space for different learning avenues and hands-on experiences that you wouldn't maybe normally expect your local library to be doing. So salute to Patty and all the gang for the fabulous work they do at our Marcellus Township Library.
Yes.
So
Yep. So spring break on Main Street.
yes, Spring
Okay.
Break on Main Street.
So if you didn't make it, you really missed out. Monday was Critchlow Alligator Sanctuary at the library.
Yes.
I mean, come on. We had
Yes.
alligators at the library.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Then, today, children's music workshop sounds like it was a big hit. I know
Yes.
it was a big hit last year, so it's wonderful. Proud of you, honey.
Thank you.
Justin wouldn't say that, but I will.
Well,
Tomorrow, you have to register ahead of time, but I'd be willing to bet you if you made a phone call first thing tomorrow morning, you could probably still get in. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. at the Marcellus Township Library is Paint a Bank.
heck yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
take your kiddos down there,
At noontime.
drop
right?
your kiddos off, whatever,
Yeah,
right? At 12 p.m., noon,
Yeah.
they can paint a bank. Gives them a little activity to do.
Yeah.
Thursday, April 3rd, this guy, who's all over town this week, Mr. Joe Watts, will be over at Patch and Remington doing the tie-dye workshop. So the fee is $12 per person. The shirt will be provided.
Yes.
He's got a multitude of sizes.
Yes.
And then that is
that's
11 a.m.
Till 2:30.
Yep, 11 to 2:30. So
So,
that
come on
has
out.
been a hit in the past too.
Yes. Yes.
Where you can pretty much pick your colors. Joe will help you get set up, and then you can kind of do the dyeing yourself.
Make it your own thing, and
yeah.
we'll take care of
Yep.
it. It's a nice
So,
little.
Patch Remington, 115 East Main. Also tomorrow at 4 p.m., if you want to hang out at Patch Remington and have a coffee, play a board game, read some art books. They're building up their art library.
Yep.
After the tie-dye workshop, hang out there, and then you can head on down at 4 p.m. to Alpha Games.
Yes.
They are doing the basics of Pokemon, so you can learn the foundation
Hang
of how to
out
play
downtown all day, pretty much.
Totally,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Terrell's
just
will be open.
Yeah.
Electric Moon will be open
Yes.
tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Yes.
So you potentially could hang out all
Just
day
hang out.
tomorrow.
Yes.
And then Friday, later in the day, because you got to party later in the day on Fridays.
Yeah.
3 p.m. Lego
Yeah.
at the library.
Yeah.
So again,
no, only natural. I mean, Lego heads don't get up early.
they're not getting up until 9 a.m.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we all know this.
You can again drop off your older kiddos, spend time with your younger kiddos, Youngo Legos.
Youngo Legos.
So that's at our library again at 205 East Main. And then hop on down to Alpha Games once more at 4 p.m. They're teaching the basics of Magic, the Gathering. Again, another card game. So if you've been kind of curious about learning how to play those games, get in with all the cool kids.
Yes.
This is your chance to
Yes.
learn how.
Definitely.
And that's at 127 West Main. And then the last thing for spring break week is the deadline to enter the Create a Comic contest. So
Create a comic.
that has been up at the library for a couple of months now.
Yes.
Again, there's still time. So any of you creatives out there that have a desire to draw and create stories, you can create a comic. And
Is there an
submit it.
age limit on this?
I don't
or
think
does-
there was actually.
okay.
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean, I think it's geared more towards
Yeah,
kids, but,
but
not
naturally.
adults. But I think
Yeah,
any age
But
group. Teenager.
middle to they
Yeah,
might want
yep.
to do it because I know we have that was the thing today at the drum workshop is that there was a lot of variety of ages,
Yeah.
so which was nice too, and so that's the reason I was kind of asking
Yeah.
that because you might have a few that are going, well, I'm 14 and I can't really versus going, well, no, go ahead and
Do
maybe
it.
do it.
Yeah,
You know? So
yep.
anyway,
Those drama kids who are really great at storyboards
Oh, yes.
and saying different segments. This feels like it might be right up their alley. But at any rate, the deadline to enter that is 5 p.m. tomorrow, and then I think they'll make some announcements on the winners.
yes,
So,
yeah.
that's spring break on Maine, which is pretty hopping for our little town.
Busy,
There's a lot going
busy.
on. Yeah.
You wouldn't know the difference between like New Orleans and Marcellus.
Bourbon Street, Main Street.
Yeah,
It's all the same.
We like to think we're more like Frenchmen, right? Kind of like, the vibe there versus. Anyway, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I got the fun part.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You get the business part.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe I mentioned this already one time, but maybe I'll mention it again. Open Jam is on Monday nights now, 7 p.m. to 9-ish. And so we've had a pretty good turnout so far. We've had some new people walk in to listen and everything, and so some new people have joined us with jamming, and so we'll hope to continue this. So if you looking for something to do on Mondays, 7 p.m., come on down to Patch and Remington, where we'll be 115 East Main Street, where we'll be having open jam. There's a drum kit down set up. You can pretty much bring. We have a bass. Kind of set up and everything with a microphone, so you can bring
an instrument if you
whatever.
want, or-
Yeah, or you can just come down and hang out and listen, or join in, whatever.
Yeah, all ages too. We've
Yes.
had high school kids, we've had adults.
Yes.
All ages are welcome. And then the other thing too is it doesn't necessarily have to be instruments. It can be poetry. It
Yes.
can be
Absolutely.
spoken word. It can be like a typical open mic. So,
Yeah.
or again, I don't play any instruments, but I like to come down and listen sometimes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you on that very much. So then a couple of little quick important announcements also, because that's all of it important stuff. But this is kind of the other important stuff where you put in a different little category, if you will. A couple of announcements for meetings coming up. And this will be happening next week. So a week from tonight, before we do our next show, on Tuesday evening a week, we have at 7 p.m. the Village Hall meeting. And so that's at the Village Hall here in Marcellus. Then we also have on looks like we have on the 9th, we have the Planning Commission at 7 p.m. And again, you can check that out at the same Village Hall and go down and check out all the guys doing their, trying to decide what the big plan is for this year. And it's also one of those situations where if you don't go now and voice your plans, it's hard to have them in there later on because that's kind of what they're talking about.
And zoning ordinances.
Yeah, the whole
and
thing.
all of it. Yep.
Yeah.
So parking, zoning, rules for your land. We've got some kiddos who are spying on us.
Yeah.
Giggling
So if
in
you
the
guys
background.
can hear those, the guys in the background, we apologize there. But so anyway, the last meeting we have is on Thursday.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
Thursday,
Thursday
the
the
10th.
10th, yep.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you have meetings going on. The 10th, we have the DDA meeting, and that is at 6 p.m. versus 7, so 6 p.m. So you can check out what's going on there for the Downtown Development Association
Authority.
Authority. I always do that.
But just what's
I always
happening
do.
downtown.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of, hear
New
what's
board
happening.
put together.
Yeah.
So they're working on some stuff.
Yeah.
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 So if you have a particular interest in downtown region / what's happening specifically downtown, that's the meeting for you.
Yes, exactly. So that's what you got going on there. So anyway, that's kind of got what we have our announcements made there, I think, and of what was going on there. A couple little other quick. We can make it, talk about it as it gets a little closer, but I just want to throw it out there also that on April 20th, the Woods is going to be having a special 420 event and everything, and so we're going to be doing some music at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so you can come down pretty much. Their hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
We better find out if they're having a food truck again.
I think she is. I talked to Becky, but I'll confirm that again as we get. I just wanted to mention it because it is happening. So I will confirm the food truck and all that, and try to have another little final
Alert before then.
Final
Sure,
blur. I do
certainly.
know that Becky has said that the Woods is going to get an early start on First Fridays,
Okay.
and she said that they're going to do First Fridays pretty much where a customer comes in and they get 50% off any item.
Awesome.
And she's going to do that pretty much
All summer.
all First Fridays.
Okay.
Through the whole summer.
That's
Yeah, through the
wonderful.
whole.
Yep.
So big salute out to those guys again there, and
Yeah,
so-
speaking of the Woods,
Yeah.
so right before 420, right
Yes.
before April 20th.
Yes.
So we had a trivia night, the third Saturday of every month. We're doing trivia at Patch Remington. Saturday night trivia. First one last week. Two weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Same night as the play. And great turnout. Wonderful.
Yes.
You guys have
Yes.
already talked about this. This month, April 19th, was originally slated for the Pajama Prom.
Correct.
But trivia was a hit enough. And the Pajama Prom is a little bit of a stretch, I think, for some folks.
Yeah.
So we decided, you know what, let's just stay on schedule and go for the third Saturday.
Third Saturday trivia.
Third Saturday of every month for trivia. So, trivia's back on track. April 19th,
Yes.
7 p.m.
Yes.
The Woods is a sponsor,
Yes.
which was my segue to
Yes.
that. So, we again will make more detailed posts and more notification as we get closer. But the Woods has been a sponsor for our first trivia, and they are going to continue sponsoring the trivias for us. So, go support your local businesses.
Yeah.
The other one to throw out there is Terrell's Market. They sponsored First Trivia, have already offered to continue to sponsor trivia moving forward. So we've got two great businesses in town that are super involved and want to be a part of our lives. The least we can do is
Yeah.
go be a part of their business.
Yeah. And it was good to know because they also supported and sponsored it, but they also a couple of them were in the house of actually participating
Yeah.
and
Okay.
did really good.
They got third place.
Yes,
They sure
and so
did.
congrats again to the first place prize and everybody that did come out. Thanks again for the support. We look forward to upping it
again.
this month and
Yeah.
kind of seeing what can happen. And I believe the defending champs are going to try to make it back.
Come back again. Exactly.
So
Yep.
I'll make sure that they know that just that we did decide to do the 19th.
Yep,
So,
we should
okay.
be posting a Facebook
Yep.
event.
Absolutely.
All that good stuff coming up here shortly, but it's a little too far out to
Yeah.
really put,
But it's good to, yeah.
people can't remember that far
Right.
ahead usually with
But
their
it's just
lives,
good to
so.
hear certain
Yep.
words. Event happening in town. All
Yeah.
right. Woo.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a hit. Oh, the other thing we'll throw out there is this is a special permit. Maybe not a one time all year, but this time around there will be alcoholic beverages available for sale.
Yeah.
So it's not a 21 and older event. It is open to everyone.
All ages.
But you will obviously require an ID in order to purchase an alcohol event. An alcoholic
Not
drink.
available to all ages.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's the difference.
But you know, we always talk about how this town is lacking a drinking establishment outside of the VFW,
Yeah.
and unless you're a member, you can't really go there. So this is a great way to like get together and do something fun and have some drinks outside of your own home. But it won't be all the time. This is
Yeah.
just a special thing here
Yeah.
and there for trivia night. So
And some people, I heard the question was, is this, could I bring the kids? Like, because they're worried about not having a sitter, so
yeah.
the kids can, and we were like,
Totally.
yeah, we had prizes for the kids. And the
Last
time-
week, second place winner had 2 kids at their
Yeah.
table.
And
so.
they had a good time, and
Yeah.
they enjoyed it. So I think it's one of those things where it's, yes, we try to make it for
for
everybody.
everyone.
So,
exactly.
Yeah,
So I'm excited for that.
Yes.
That was my first venture into emceeing anything ever in the history of my life.
Yeah, you did great.
I was nervous for about the first 3 minutes,
Yeah.
and then I
It's
warmed
like
right
you-
up.
It's like
Yeah.
you've done it forever.
Yeah, it was fun. I
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I think it'll get more fun as we
Yeah.
continue this.
Did you like the
for your
setup,
viewers.
kind of how it was? Where
Yeah,
where
it
you
was
had,
easy
it
for me to
was
see everyone. I could
kind
hear
of felt like a
everything.
host a little bit.
Yeah, I felt like Alex Trebek, man. It was
Yeah.
great.
Well, I think that's where we're going to up it for you a little bit this next round. Is you're going to have to do an intro.
Oh goodness.
We're going to have Roddy Rod or somebody doing the big lift where he's
Come in with my Rocky
Yeah.
hood, you
Yeah.
know, my like
Exactly.
robe that he wears, you know.
You don't know it's happening, but it's happening. You've been warned. You've been warned.
Oh goodness.
So anyway, so
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah. Anyway, we're sitting in our basement. Joe and I talked about this prior to doing the show, sitting in for Justin. It's their thing, and I just like to give input every once in a while.
it's been awesome.
That's more
having-
my thing.
But it's been awesome
Uh,
having you join in.
So yeah, we're sitting in this basement, and I'm like, wow, this is a different perspective of our basement than I've ever seen. It's pretty interesting to sit over in this far corner and just look around the room. I'm usually at the opposite corner with my back to this section, so
Yeah.
I don't ever really look at it from here. It's kind of funny.
It's kind of like, I guess any large city's downtown area bypass.
Like, oh hey, I usually go past that area. Now I'm in it.
This is like cross sections of many areas. You know what I mean? And in most areas like that, there's definitely some awesome art area in that location.
Sure,
That's
sure.
kind of the art studio.
Yeah.
So, or warehouse or whatever. So, it's fitting, as I see. So,
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to be down here and do this. Okay, what else? What else do we have going on in the old world of Marcellus / the big picture world?
Well, I guess what we could talk about a little bit is we had a hell of a storm come in
Yeah.
this past week, couple days, I guess technically. So it was weird because we've all been in different kind of storm situations and everything, but it was interesting because you had that lead space of like 5 minutes. And it wasn't even a 5 minute storm situation. It was a build up for 5 minutes that was so intense.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we had a tornado verified touchdown in our area. I know Coldwater had one that they said, but I don't think our particular area had one. But it was interesting because I kept hearing what sounded like a train.
Yes.
So
Yes.
consistent. And so it's interesting how many trees were taken down. Some split,
Sure.
some roots all
Uprooted, yeah.
up. And it's one of those where pretty intense, and it happened in such a short time.
I mean,
Where
I don't honestly. I think if we timed the fast wind that we had and those gusts, it couldn't have been more than 5 to 7 minutes.
yeah,
What was super intense,
Right, yeah.
and then it just kind of went away. I mean,
Yeah.
you're like you were saying, it did build up, but I bet in the thick of it couldn't have been more than 5 to 7 minutes. So it like you're saying, it's amazing how so much damage can happen in just such a tiny brief amount of time. We watched from the back porch. When it storms, I like to sit out there and watch the lightning and
Because
hear
sometimes
the
you get to
thunder
see
and-
them come up from the right area.
Sure, yeah, you can watch the wall
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And this time we were all out there just for a minute because it was starting, and that wind kicked up so fast that we all went right into the house because stuff started blowing fast.
Well, and it started getting wet on
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because it was the
The
wind.
wind had blown the rain so much, but as we were watching out the window, you watch, the power line, and then the power went out for just a second. But I didn't realize because our immediate area, our yard, for the most part was, your small branches and twigs and things that normally fall down in the wind, but nothing major, nothing that we could see from any area until we went out and walked to the property line, and then the neighbor lost the top half of a really big pine that knocked out a couple smaller trees and a big branch off an oak.
Our neighbor lost her cherry tree, I think, out of there.
Her
Peach tree.
Her peach, and so that covers, a good quarter of their yard, that tree that fell.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
But then as you were saying, as you went around town, you've got trees down on Center Street, trees down on Jones, and then we went to 216 yesterday.
Yeah, it's like
Dollar General doesn't have
as far as
electric.
it could be Walking Dead as far as we know up there, right?
Family Dollar has no electricity.
Yeah.
Whippy Dip has no electricity. Wakey Jake's has no electricity, and then we see all the damage from Wakey Jake's. And Whippy Dip, the shed in the back there, in the back of Whippy Dip is pretty messed up, but Wakey Jake certainly took, I think, the brunt of it. So it's fascinating how weather works that way, where it's like literally just that section got the bulk of it.
Yeah.
And then everything else got some, but not.
Yeah.
It's
and then it shows you also how even where sometimes Mother Nature has events or whatever, that there's still things working in clockwork time. Because when we went down there last night, and this was after Open Jam,
sure.
so it was like 9:30ish or so, and so when we got there. And pulled into kind of the Dollar General parking lot to turn around.
Realized they didn't have power,
we noticed that the Dollar General semi truck was
still
sitting in
there,
the parking
waiting to
lot.
unload, yeah.
And so it's like, well, what do I do? I can't get in touch with someone that I need to talk to, and they've told me they don't have power. So, but yet.
I gotta unload.
I can't keep this stuff because so what am I supposed to, so it's that moment of trying to figure everything out and also being a truck driver, he or she might not have known or might not have been able to go anymore because the DOT booked their regulated time to drive for the day. So they might have been like, well,
I'll just
oh
stay here,
geez, I don't have anything to eat now because I was planning on stopping in Paw Paw next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And filling up and everything. And so it's just interesting of watching.
The world still works.
Yeah, of certain things. And how are they going to figure that out? Because it's interesting, but our Dollar General, I would say, has a consistent
Delivery schedule?
because it needs. So what will that do to it for a cycle?
The next couple of days or weeks or months or whatever. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And Wakey Jake's is the same of, they had normal deliveries, they had regular food stuff, they have staff.
And the food that they might already have that's gone bad,
And the difference between Dollar General and Wakey Jake's is Wakey Jake's is family.
Yeah.
Small owned, family owned.
Absolutely.
Dollar General,
who cares?
corporate, right?
I mean,
Like,
we
in
don't
the
care about
scheme
the
of-
workers.
I
But
care about the people that are employed, but
Yeah.
you're talking one day off, 2 days off tops. But this is a business that a family has invested in that have to rebuild and deal with insurance, and they're paying people to be employed, and they've lost food, and so that part just breaks my heart. But on the other hand, I have seen, you've got some local Facebook groups that happen here. And the support and the offers for help and all that have just been remarkable. And that's one thing we do really, really well is, look, sometimes we get down into the nitty gritty with our Facebook pages and we're a-holes to each other. That's just what happens. Sometimes I see some posts, I'm like, come on, grow up. Or, just be kind. But then I see things like that and I go, this is what we do really, really well, is we do rally as a community and help.
It's terrible. You have to have something happen before you. It's like a hurricane or a fire or tornado, mudslide, whatever it might be, or then people go out of their way to kind of.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it is terrible in the sense of like, I wish everyone could be that way all the time. But on the other hand, I'm at least grateful that they do it, that everyone does that sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Because we all get in our lives and our worlds and we all go about our business. And, I think us as a couple and as a family really try to think about others as often as we can, and in some cases more than ourselves. That's just something that's ingrained in us that we really, really want to do is the greater good, the big picture.
Something larger than us.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, right? And so that's what we try to do, and that's how we try to raise our family. And not everyone is that way, and that's okay. It's not wrong. But at least if you're stepping up when the time to step up is, that's better than not at all. And so I really appreciate that part. And not everyone, as our good friend Justin says, sometimes you have the energy to just help yourself, and sometimes you have the energy to help others. And
you got to
you
choose
just gotta,
sometimes.
Yep, and that's it. And so I don't fault anyone for not going above and beyond. But also, it's wonderful when you do see it. It just really lifts my heart.
Yeah. It's one of those. Yeah, it's just especially when it happens so naturally.
Yep.
Because that's where you go. Okay, it's genuine. So it's pure. So it's anyway. So that's again, it's terrible and it's weird that we're sitting here. No, we saw power.
Yeah,
it
literally,
blinked for a minute, and I think pretty much the majority of our side of town lucked out that way.
Yeah.
And I think closer down by Wakey Jakes and Whippy Dip.
As of earlier today, they still
didn't
have
have power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that must have really knocked out some
Major lines.
poles
and
and
stuff.
maybe
I
a
know there were some
transformer.
trees that went across the highway that they had to clear out, and all of Rest Forest, which we've talked about that a million times every time we drive by, how it's gotten hit, by a couple storms in the past, and it just needs to be maintained and cleaned out and
It's a lot of work.
and truly forested,
Right.
Where it needs some folks to come in from DNR, or whoever maintains the forests around here. I think it's DNR.
Would make sense.
Yeah,
But-
and they need to come in and really check the health levels of Rest Forest, because it's beautiful, but there's so many down
There's
trees
some
that they've gotta.
TLC.
Yeah, and you want to leave some of that stuff because it's circle of life and all that natural stuff, but some of it needs to be managed so that it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
Particularly on a state highway. So
And so it's one of those things. Maybe that'll help happen because it's kind of ultimately doing it for it. Whether it's being removed, it's clearing up what it needs to clear up.
the
Because
old, dead, whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
the weak
so-
stuff is already.
It's just how
But
much
yeah.
will you be able to enjoy it eventually? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Yep.
it comes to that point. But
Yeah. I don't know. I think coming from out west where we see so much like proactive forestry there
yeah.
with all the fires and things, they're just really big on maintaining undergrowth and a healthy balance of weak/dead/live trees. Like they're just so conscientious of that out there. And not to say that we aren't here, but just visually,
yeah,
at least in our areas, I see. But much like anything, lack of resources, lack of funding.
yeah. Well, and I think partially probably is a little bit the moisture situation around here, to where they go, well, it's
It's
probably
like Jurassic Park around these parts.
It's a little bit okay where you go, okay, probably in certain parts of Oregon, kind of they would do the similar
thing.
situation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure. For sure.
So I think it's like you said, it needs some TLC, but
You want to let it do its thing,
do
but
some-
also you have to kind of be conscientious of what's unsafe and
Yes.
what's not, I guess is where I'm at with it. I mean, how many trees do we see laying on telephone lines, partially out in the road that are already fallen down
Yeah.
that no one's taking care of,
Yeah.
just all along this
Yeah.
highway?
And it's
You know,
like-
We're just worried about these 2 blocks really on our downtown M216.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's really where we can make the impact, so that's what we focus on. But there's other areas that could certainly use
Yeah.
help. So you can only do so much too.
Well, and it's like it's like when you live in the city and you're near the hospital, and everybody loses power,
yeah.
and you're the house that has power
Because
you're
you're
lying.
right next to the hospital.
You're on the hospital line. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
And it's
sure.
the first one that gets
Yeah.
cut, and they're like,
Nope, turn it on."
sorry, you can have an extension cord if you'd like for your fridge. you know what I'm saying? So, but it's just interesting sometimes of how that kind of stuff works out and everything.
Yeah.
So, I know we're kind of flipping back around, but I wanted to mention something real quick because I know we were doing the announcements earlier with everything, but I want to go back to the music children's workshop for a minute and touch on something. I found it cool and inspiring that there's a lot of different age. I'm sure some parents, but grandparents and some single dads, or maybe not single dads, but maybe dads that had the kids today or whatever. So it's just a wide variety of people that came up, and again, our library is awesome, but it's one thing for them to bring them to a children's workshop, music workshop, and to know there's going to be noise a little bit, and not something you expect
at a library. Sure.
Yeah, and so and again, Patty and the gang kind of have a bunch of the music instruments kind of that are kid generated, and then I bring in stuff that is show and tell so they can get some hands on. And my idea is to kind of bring stuff in that this age group wouldn't really get a chance, like a hi-hat cymbal with a stand, and to work the foot pedal and get to work and hear the
test it, play it,
and hear the different tones of a tom drum where it's covered with a tea towel, and then it's actually uncovered where you hear how it rings longer, and to how to and so just to share these little things when they're so young, and again the parents coming out to support this, and it's really like watching a baby tree or a plant kind of grow, because I told Patty and the gang today, I go, it'll be interesting in another 5 years if I continue this up, where some of these kids that are a little bit older, like Blake and the gang,
might join the band, or
they've already involved in it, and so then they might feel more comfortable coming out to open jam, to where there's this whole early teenage kind of scene or bloom that's kind of like that. I just kind of could see it a little bit today, because of just, again, I made a point to thank everybody for taking the time to come to it, and the kids are just ta with cymbals and ta. I'm like, you can't hit that with a stick; it's gonna bust the head. And but I tried to show them, each one to come up to the hi-hat stand with the hi-hat, so they could do their own foot with it, and then so they could have the stick and kind of play with the stick. And I let them use one or two, whatever sticks they want to do. And it was interesting how some of the kids would kind of hit at like one time, and then other kids would kind of and try to get. And so it was interesting of just seeing that different avenue, because there are, I told again the Patty that I could try to do some lesson that I thought was cool, or they would think, oh, that's neat, he can do that, or whatever. Right. Or I said, but I try to root it in hands-on experience that gets them interested.
Well, imagine though, imagine if, you got interested in the drums at, preteen, early teenage years, but imagine if there was something in your life that allowed you to explore that at a much, much younger age, where you could touch it, feel it, hear it. Yeah. And then as you got into those teenage years, that stuck with you. Like, what would the difference be? Yeah. Particularly because the passion for music and drums, in particular rhythm, is there for you. But would that have made a difference of having something like that in your life? And you never know that impact of what it's going to be. In some cases, depending on the age of the kid, it's like, that's the thing that went, ooh.
Right, yeah.
And you never know that part until way down the line. And that part's really fascinating to me. Yeah. So to be able to allow that to happen in our little town, or you to volunteer your time to do that, to expose kids that maybe, again, like you were saying, don't have that exposure already, that's amazing, because it's not just hey, we did a fun thing today. This is, again, a seed, like you're saying, that potentially is planted for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, of starting this passion or this interest, even if it's not a passion, an interest in somebody, for their life.
The avenue of just
you just don't know, right? And that kid can go on to be, again, in the band, or from the band can go on to start a band,
Yeah.
who's then involved in our music scene here that we're trying to build that doesn't quite exist yet, but maybe someday, to being the band instructor or
Yeah.
going off to school and studying music, who
Yeah.
becomes a, symphony, an orchestra
Conductor.
thank you. I was
Yeah.
like, what's the word?
Yeah.
You just don't know
Yeah.
those impacts. And so when I look back on my life, or I'm sure as you look back on yours, like what are things that influenced you? Not necessarily along the music avenue, but just in
Just
general.
in general. But that was part of this,
What
bringing this up.
creates
was
an
like,
impression in
Yeah.
your mind that has stuck with you on a life lesson, a feeling, whatever it might be. And there's, for everyone, it's a little bit different, but I can always go back to, for me, creativity and artwork is like your music for me. And so I look back and I go, every single holiday, everyone, birthdays, Christmas, Easter, any holiday that involved a present, I always got an art supply. Always. Whether I used it or not, whether it was never pushed, it was just like,
here.
it's for you to just explore.
Yeah.
At least I was given that
Yeah.
versus somebody who maybe wasn't.
Yeah.
Um,
To open up a world possibly.
That's it.
to where-
Whether you explored it or
it's like
used
a
it
book,
or not,
right?
you at least have it available. And that's what you did for those kids today at the library was it's at least available for you to see. And that's it. Now art has followed me my entire life
Yeah.
and lots of different facets. And even if I'm not drawing or painting, it's part of who we are, of just create.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be creative. Think of creative ideas. Do fun things. Trivia, open jam, performances, help with the play, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. We've always got to be making something.
Yeah.
You're just auditory and I'm visual.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Blake did he's going to a competition coming up in a couple weeks. And so he asked when I got there, he was like, he had already asked Patty and his mom, but he's like, think I could play my solo?
That's awesome.
Sometime during the thing. And so when I got there, he asked me, and I'm like, that'd be awesome. When do
Yeah.
you want to do it? And so he crushed it. And so I go, just that whole avenue of music, for passion and music
Yeah.
in general, has led me to meet so many, us, and because
Yeah.
you've met a lot of these people too, but just, it's, how many doors it's opened up is just unbelievable. And then to see, again, because that's what ultimately we're talking about here is, being able to, have something to explore, to see what your creative interest is,
Yeah.
and what your talents that you have inside that you may not even have a clue that you have unless you explore this for a minute. And who's to say when it comes about? And but that was just, it was, I enjoy doing it, and to be asked back to come in, they want to do it a couple times a year versus just once.
Spring break? Okay.
Yeah, and so, and then Patty's like, maybe we can do it before the open jam to where people could come down to open jam after this was done.
See
And
music
come
in
down,
action.
yeah, and, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, it's just awesome how everything's kind of feeding
Yeah.
off each other. And so, again, it was just to be in that moment. I love to be able to give back and to do that, but to be in that moment and see that in real time too, and to
I
kind
think
of
it's
appreciate that.
I think
like,
it's one of those things that, like, I don't know if it's you don't want to admit it or what it is. I'm not quite sure, but I know it's in you. Moving to a small community, I know you consider yourself a city guy, just like I consider myself a city girl. We just have lived in cities our entire adult lives. But that is one of those things, moving to a small community. Doesn't even have to be a small town or a village like we live in, just a small community, I'll say, where your impact is so much greater living in places like this. You have literally limitless options to make a difference in people's lives. And that's so gratifying, right? If that's what you're into, right? Not everyone is that way. Not everyone wants to make a difference in the world. But that's something that drives us both, is to influence and help, and however that looks. And so living in a city, you've done great music things, but I don't think you've made the impact that you have in our little community, especially in music. And especially to it's That's what I'm looking for. Really open-minded, moldable generation, right? When you're thinking kids, of just these are formative years for people. It's not like they're adults and they're already set in their ways and they are busy with real jobs and real lives and don't have time for this. Like you're influencing and changing thought processes for little humans, and that's much harder to do in a big city. And so, when I say you don't admit it, it's because coming here, was a challenge for us, I think. Not a huge one, but a small challenge of, okay, we're going to small town life. What's that going to look like for us, right? We're definitely not small town people, but I have found it just so rewarding of making real human connections that feel a lot more meaningful than they did in a big city. We've got our close friends, but you're a minnow in a sea, and here it's everyone matters. You can feel the difference of literally one person's actions can affect so many people here.
Right.
And that part is really, really cool, really neat. So, all in all, whether you want to admit it or not, I think you like living in a small community to some degree. It has its advantages.
It's just, I guess the ultimate thing is it's cool because you are connected and I can't walk pretty much anywhere without having a conversation with somebody, and so that's pretty, and I try to always be that way. So because I think back to where I go on a walk or do whatever or be wherever, and would always try to hear everybody's story.
Yeah.
So I don't think that changed. I think it just your chances of seeing someone familiar, like we knew there was 2 other dreadlock dudes back home.
Yeah.
Like, because other people had seen
Told
it.
us, yeah.
Like, and we had never really seen until one day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the bank one day. And okay, I guess that's one of them.
Yep.
Like that's, so, it's one of those interesting things where, I think the small town part of it, but, it's definitely different. There is the part, I think I don't have any kind of guard up or anything like that
Yeah.
here, and that feels good.
That it's you. It's
so
you.
like-
It's take me or leave me. I am who I am.
Yeah, so
And I think that's what you kind of have to do in a small town, because everyone knows everything. Rumor mills are very, very prevalent, but also very close knit, right? That's just part of it. But the good stuff is also exemplified because that stuff spreads easily. But that's it. If you're true to you, it's take it or leave it, and the same for me or whomever,
Yeah.
right? Where
contagious people
that's it. You
draw
just,
the contagious
you-
people because that energy
Exactly.
that you have.
Yep, you put good out in the world and good comes back to you. And I feel like we've been blessed in that way and really lucky in that way. But also, I think our little town is really receptive to that goodness and wants to give that back.
Yeah,
By
that's-
and large.
yeah.
By and large, our little town is just a neat, all in all, really creative and
Yeah.
just a neat place to live. You just have to have your eyes open to it.
Our neighbors, they do tremendous work making tables and clocks and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And probably some of the people in our little village have no clue that they're
They
even
do
here.
that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
'Cause
have
they're
an entire
such-
business, yeah.
They're such to them, like
Yeah.
they're so busy and doing their own thing to
Yeah.
where they did come to me as birthday party and
Yeah.
it was great with Charlie and
Yeah.
the gang coming there and it was awesome. But again, that's another talented family,
Creative. Yep.
doing incredible work in our little village. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Again, and awesome to see. And as you said, that we have a unique little area here that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what you wouldn't think or know. Always, when you think you've got it, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you think you've got it figured out and you've got your hand at least on it a little bit, it's
Something
like
else surprises
something
you.
else happens.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And I also will say that I had a conversation with a 91-year-old man the other day, and it got kind of a little bit. It was kind of a little intense conversation, a little bit.
An
Not-
intense conversation with you?
Yeah,
Never.
I know.
Never.
Over certain topics, you know what I'm saying. So
No.
anyway, so we said what we said, and then I got to the point where I said, "Hey, Mr. So and So, did you actually go to the movie theater when it was here?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, when I was a teenager, we go and splice the film and all this." And so it was this whole other avenue of like conversation. And like I told Tony, we need to get him on
Record it.
recording
Yeah, yeah.
of just that whole thing, and we need to do it. But it was that whole point of I think that kind of sums it up. It was like conversation, not really hitting it off part and everything. And I told him kind of like, we're just not going to talk about this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, we're just not going to agree on this. It doesn't mean it. And so, but we still had this moment where he shared this whole other story about it. I could see him as a 16-year-old kid. So I think that sums up our little village a little bit. It's
Yeah.
like, we're not going to all be all soft and nice edges.
Hippy dippy, as I say.
Yeah, I mean, certain things can be abrasive and,
Yeah.
and rough and sandpaperish, but there's a pretty good chance that you might have been able to strike some kind of. It
Commonality,
seems
yeah.
there's enough to where you go, okay, I just disagree with things till we find the right thing to agree
Yeah.
or talk about that
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah.
And so cause I say, we've always said this about our older generation. It's one thing to see them continue and try to learn,
Yeah.
especially as you continue to get in a world that's changing so much.
So fast,
Yeah. So to see that, you appreciate that and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part of like,
You're never too old to stop learning
Yeah,
and
yeah,
growing
yeah.
and wanting to be better.
yeah. And so anyway, so that's just, I think that sums up, because we were talking
That
about
just
kids
reminded
and then
Yeah.
Now
Then we
it's
got to the senior.
seniors
Yeah.
and just trying to have that interaction with people.
I didn't want to forget this. As you were talking, it reminded me. We should have said it in the announcements, but we didn't have it written down. On the 12th of April at Patch Remington again, that's going to be a Saturday, 115 East Main, there is a group that is meeting, and it's called Bitches Get Stuff Done. So that group is hoping to achieve aims on, again, open-mindedness, creativity, probably some politics talk. But, you know, you go in there and again, you think of we're people and we're human and you find the commonalities and you'd be amazed at how much you can get done when you just listen to each other and try to work together. So at any rate, this is an interesting kind of group for our town, but I'm pretty excited about it because anything that's different intrigues me.
Yeah.
And I know it does you too, where it's okay. This is shaking stuff up. So I can't remember the time, but it is a Facebook event. So I'm sure if you go and look, this is a national group, and we just happen to have a local chapter.
Well, maybe we can get in touch with.
BGSD, and
Okay.
I think it's .org.
Okay.
But I don't really want to say names
Yeah,
or anything.
no, well, I was gonna say maybe we can get in touch with the whoever,
Organizer?
and then I could do a quick short
Okay. Yeah.
announcement that would just run in a short form
Yeah.
for just that could play up to that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like so.
I think it's a little more women geared.
No,
I think
yeah.
everyone's welcome, but
and
it's a
you
little
could do
more,
it if you wanted to.
well, no, I'm just saying in
Yeah.
general, like
Yeah.
everyone's welcome,
Yeah.
but I think it's geared more
Yeah.
towards women.
Yeah.
Who, you know, sometimes again, this comes back to Women's History Month. We just finished that, where we feel like our voice sometimes is drowned out, and so I think that's the reason it's geared a little bit more towards that. But as far as I'm aware, it's open to everyone who would like to come.
Right.
As long as they're not going to try to take control of the situation.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get a little more information,
Yeah.
but just it was kind of along that topic of like wanting to make the world a better place
I love it.
and wanting to talk about different topics that
Options.
you know you're opposite
Options, yeah.
sides on some things, but also there's commonalities. In today's society, in today's
Yep.
world,
Yep.
we don't do that enough.
Yep.
Most of our problems can be solved if we just sit down with each other and act like we're human beings. And we don't do that. It's so easy to vilify and put people on opposite sides, and here's a category and here's a category and here's a category, instead of just finding the core.
Yeah.
And in most cases, we all want the same thing. It's just, how do we respectfully do that? And so we don't talk about that enough in the world.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
regular one-on-one conversation is really important to keeping that alive,
Yeah.
I think, instead of keyboarding and posting on groups and
this
you
is
know,
going to be a monthly
it sounds like it. Yep.
reoccurring thing?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll try to find the time out and do
Yeah,
at
I
least a
think
little.
it was earlier in the day, but
shout
I can't say for
and,
sure.
and
I
they
don't
might
wanna
not
get
want
it wrong time.
the shout out too.
Exactly.
So it
But
might really
I
be-
think it's worth mentioning at
Yeah.
least
Yeah.
because it's something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Again, it's another just surprise. Marcellus is offering this,
Yeah.
and I would have never thought that. So I
Yeah.
love that part.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd throw it out there just in
No,
case.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Thanks very much for sharing that. That was freaking awesome. I think it's one of those things. It's again just. I think I'll say this just because it should be said for our little village. A big shout out to the Wizard and Mr. T-Bone himself, Tony, for having Patch in Remington. The place.
The foresight to just
just to have.
let's
the-
try
yeah.
something really radical
Yep.
in a town that maybe isn't
Yep.
ready to accept us.
Yep, and then I'd like to add on top of that a big shout out to Jonathan and Justin for teaming up and trying to put extra effort and energy into making Patch and Remington
Continue to run.
continue to run and successful and to keep growing.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we are broadcasting for AM 1620,
Which is
the
out
Word,
of- yeah,
out of Patch and
Remington.
Remington, Marcellus, Michigan,
Yep.
and again, this is one of those things where it's important to because that is a lot of stuff happening. I mean, First Fridays is going to be happening. Other events, we have New Year's
We
parties.
got dueling pianos coming up. We got
There's
all kinds of.
everything
Yeah.
that's happening.
Yeah.
Trivia's, everything. Like there's just constant stuff, and so
Aside from that, we have art constantly.
Yes, yes,
Constantly.
yes.
Of at your leisure, and some of these artists that they get are world renowned, regionally renowned. Where again, you don't have to travel to South Bend to see this. You can literally walk the 2 blocks to your downtown and see this.
Yeah.
Side note, we don't want to. It's not necessarily turning into a Pat Remington ad.
no, I just wanted to
But
mention
it's
that.
important. I
Yeah.
agree because
Yeah.
again, having the foresight
Yeah.
to set up that kind of a business in
Yeah.
our little town, scary.
Yeah.
What are the chances of success? Are they going to accept us? And by and large, our village has accepted Pat Remington as an establishment, but more importantly, now it has become a staple.
A
It's-
needed staple is what
Exactly.
even some of the old
Correct.
timers have said.
Correct.
You know?
Yes, we have.
Didn't realize
An
they
older
needed it,
generation that comes and hangs out because they don't necessarily want to eat breakfast, but they just want to have coffee and talk shop. We've got the euchre games.
but twice a week.
Correct. We used to have chair yoga,
Yeah.
which we'll have some land again. But my
Post
point
smart
is,
recovery.
yes,
So, like-
addiction recovery and smart recovery and AA and NA and all those pieces. It has become, which much to their dismay, not exactly what they had in mind, but they've adapted to what the community has needed. And they're a nonprofit, you guys. They are a nonprofit organization. So if you live in the village of Marcellus and you haven't made a point to stop in there and see what they're about, I strongly recommend it. And throw them some money every once in a while, whether you buy a coffee or just, hey, here's a donation.
Yeah.
That's what keeps stuff going here. They have movie nights sometimes. They have game night. They
Yeah.
have all kinds of stuff
And
happening
even if
at
you-
any given moment.
Yeah. If you don't want to come out, but you want to support it, buy some tickets to an event and let them just give it out to some people.
Yeah.
Or, again, whoever how you feel like you've got to offer that you want to be a part, but you just are not able to technically be at some of these because scheduling or whatever.
Yep.
Don't hesitate. Like throw in whatever you can throw in, and it might be an idea. It might be a monetary donation. It
Yeah.
might be
How can I help? A volunteer opportunity.
It's that old
Yep.
toll booth, thing to where there was this little lady that would go through a toll booth every Christmas, and she'd pay $100 and say, "Hey, the next 100 people through are free."
Yeah, pay it
and
forward,
then
yeah.
start this whole thing, and then you hear it at Starbucks. Oh, the person paid for your
Yep.
coffee before you. Oh, well, let me pay for the one behind.
Exactly.
It just so it's one of those chain things that kind of takes off, and it's just awesome.
Has a
It's,
life
it's
of
just
its own.
awesome. So
Yeah, I mean, truly, I can't imagine. Honestly, we've lived here for 2 years. I can say if Patch and Remington did not exist,
Yeah.
I think we would have already considered packing up and moving.
yeah.
I think we would have already done that, honestly.
Yeah.
In my heart, I believe that. There's moments where we've thought about that already, but then we go, no, we've invested a lot in this community, and this community is investing in us. Let's see where this takes us. But I'm pretty convinced if that didn't exist, we would have had a serious conversation about maybe it's time to move a bigger city,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's how important that
Yeah,
is
yeah,
is
yeah.
that it's keeping people here who own other businesses
Yeah.
and pay taxes
Yeah,
here
yeah.
and volunteer our time
Yeah.
and participate in community events. Like that's what that building and those people are doing for
Yeah,
our community.
yeah.
And so
Priceless.
Yeah, it's not like we plan to talk about that, but to me, you're exactly right. It's almost as important as our library in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
town.
Yeah, and it's just that whole place of being
Yep.
for just
And
all
every single person
a wide
is
variety.
welcome.
Yeah, yeah,
Every person
yeah, yeah,
is welcome in that building
yeah,
to just come and engage.
yeah. And that's kind of the half the thing. So to kind of so anyway, thank you very much for doing that, guys. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And so come down and check us out. We're Electric Moon is open Wednesday through Saturday.
Yeah. Yep.
101 East Main Street,
Yes.
3 to 8 p.m.
Look at you go.
And come down and say hey and everything. And we're not far from Patch and Remington, so Patch and
Just a
Remington
couple doors down.
Thursday through Sunday, they're
Sure.
there pretty much. And
Yeah.
so hey, and again, technically they're closed on Mondays, but we do open jam on Monday nights, 7 to 9. So you're welcome to come out and listen and check that out. And so just anyway, thank you. I think what we'll try to do as we're getting close to the end of the show here, it's April Fool's, guys. And I think we'll play a joke on our daughter
Are we?
because she's having to spend the night. So yeah, she doesn't know this, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna invite her down here. You just play along, okay? So here we go. You just play along, guys.
I
Just,
really don't. But what are we doing? You got to put me in on this. What? Oh. Okay. But don't say her name because I don't know. Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Hey, Dot. I just got
Mom.
Mom just got a message, a text message, and she said that it does have, but in just a few minutes, unfortunately, you're spending the night. Yes, you're gonna have to go home. So,
Oh.
yeah. You guys, sorry.
You're fine.
I don't know what's up, but they just said that she needs to come home in a little bit.
We're gonna go get our stuff.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, April Fool's! Stop!
We got you too.
She said, "Wait till you see. We got you."
Ah, you little turds! So anyway, hey, thank you very much for coming on this side of the campus over
I'll
there.
be back over, not on camera next
Back
time.
to where you really like to be. Thanks for tuning in out there. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked our little April Fool's ending there. And I guess we will see you next week around 8:30ish.
Yeah.
Depending on
Depending
at
on
the
the
Village
meeting.
Hall meeting.
Yeah.
And if you have any messages, comments, give us a like. Drop a comment below. Give a thumbs up. Drop a blue heart. I hear blue hearts get algorithm going crazy.
they? Oh, do
Yeah,
they?
I tell you. I don't know either. But like somewhere it's got to be triggered somehow. So
Okay.
anyway, thanks for tuning
Yeah.
in, and yeah, we'll catch you guys next week, and
See you next Tuesday.
see you next Tuesday.